This is episode 1, hopefully of many. Right now we've come up with the topic of religion we're going to talk about. So kind of the way we're going to set this up is just talking about each individual person's like past beliefs, what they're kind of brought up with, experiences, stuff that's like shaped them into what they believe now. So they're going to go a little bit more detail about what they believe now. So whoever wants to start, start. Okay, not Eric.
Well, that leaves me. Unless, Dave, you want to go. I mean, you're probably the most sound of the bunch, I guess.
What do you mean sound by that?
I mean, you just more consistent. What would you say, Eric? Just
In what?
his religious beliefs?
I would say maybe he practices or shows more, maybe?
More orthodox, probably. No?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I would say you practice more than Steve does.
I would say you could probably put yours into words better than I can.
Okay, I'll lay the groundwork. All right.
Break the ice.
So I guess just going into it, like growing up, I mean, I was never. I'm a Christian, obviously. That's kind of what I believe in. Growing up, I was never really. Never went to church. Wasn't really told much about things like that. Like I just never. I think I went to church when I was like 5 one time, and like I knew who Jesus was and God, and like I know the concept of things, but I never knew exactly what was going on. Then like in high school, that's kind of when I started going to a church and the youth group, and that's kind of where I got tied into like a traditional like style of thinking of church, so I think that kind of like formed me in a way. There's a lot of good things that came out of that, but then also like I guess going to now, completely different from what I used to do. So my faith has still been the same. It's still been like a Christian setting, but I don't classify myself as a Baptist or a Methodist or even like non-denominational. I'm just
Catholic?
No Catholic.
Okay.
No, but nothing like that. I'll just say Christian or just a believer, because I mean, I don't know. They always say that. Well, that was a corny phrase that like, I don't have a religion, I have faith. You know,
Yeah.
I don't believe in religion. Well, I mean, whatever you want to say, you're boiling it down to something. You know, religion is believing in something, right? So, I guess just going into that, that's just kind of like there's a few like pillar things of kind of what I believe, just as a Christian. But yeah, I don't know really how else to.
Can I piggyback off that?
Yeah, go for it.
So, like, would say I'm pretty similar. I would classify as Christian, but I really don't have a set belief system. I guess like
Not like a sub.
Yeah, that you could
underlying,
classify.
yeah.
You know? I mean, the closest I get, somebody asks me like, "Oh, what do you believe?" I usually just respond with like, "I'm a follower of Jesus."
Yeah,
That's about it. You know, because I don't know. I've been through a few different churches growing up too. Not too many, but enough.
yeah.
I just kind of got like a distaste for the church scene. And
As in, like, what kind of like what made you distaste it? Was it just like the
human organization
the
part.
yeah,
organization of it, or-
yeah, like just like you're either the with me or against me mentality.
Yeah.
And that's pretty hostile. And I think that's kind of the opposite of the way they're supposed to be. I mean, where we are located, it's kind of, the Catholics are doing it wrong, or the Southern Baptists are doing it wrong, and they're all,
Yeah, we're right,
busting hell wide open.
right in the middle of the Bible Belt here. So that's our perspective.
Yeah, we're just 3 Southern dudes, but
Sort of.
whatever.
Well, the one thing I got, you kind of were in high school and you were drawn by it. What drawn you towards it in high school?
Who you point, Dave?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's one of my best friends that like actually invited me at the time. But I guess it was enticing because it's like growing up, like I never really had like I guess nuclear family. I mean, I had my mom, my dad, they're divorced, my brothers and stuff. But it's like we just weren't like a family unit. Like nothing was really close. But like I went to this was in that group, and it's like there's pizza there, there's basketball, people hanging out. It's like, oh, it's kind of enticing,
Yeah.
for a young guy. It's like, oh, this is cool, and I'll fit in here,
That's
whatever.
how they get you.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
got a little
Pizza and
pizza coming.
Drink the Kool-Aid. It's really good.
We're playing some games out back, Dave,
Yeah.
but you can't tell anybody about it.
Just say Jesus touched me.
What about you, Eric? We said we're pretty much followers of Jesus, but not anything labeled. We can't be labeled, really. We would say. So, what about you?
I mean, you probably don't. You can probably be labeled, but like you're not so involved with titles like other people are probably. So you're like, hey, I just believe in this.
I don't think you could label me in any kind of denomination.
Well, you can say Christian. There you go. That's about it.
Yeah.
That's about it. You don't have to pinpoint. But for me, I'm
But
probably
people do.
Huh?
I said, but people do.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
they want to because
Well, they group you.
Yeah, they try to. That's their objective. You
Yeah.
know, like, oh, if I can stick you with this group, then I got something on you because
Yeah.
I know this group is this.
Because if they can identify you, then they can tear you down in a sense.
But anyways, buddy.
But for me, I'm probably the black sheep in this group right here because I'm not, I wouldn't say Christian or any of that. I don't even know if I'm really religious, maybe agnostic, most. Buddhism, maybe. But I was raised Catholic, I would say. Went to Sunday school. And we did all that for, I don't even know how long, till I was like 5 or 6. Then we kind of just stopped going. My grandparents, or my grandma she's really Catholic. And I guess my parents are considered Catholic too, but they don't really practice as much or go to church or nothing like that. So I always just question it because I guess my personality, if everyone, because we're in the Bible Belt,
Yeah.
so everyone's like into, Baptist or just into Christian.
Yeah.
And everyone's into it, like not just into like God is Jesus is this and you're going to hell if you don't, like there's billboards all around here saying that, and it's a little more
Call this number for the truth.
yeah. And I think it just maybe turned me off more just because everyone else is doing it. I'm just like, I'll just do the opposite or all that stuff. So that's my point of view. Now I went to your small groups and went to church and kind of try to get into it more, and I don't know, there's something about it. It's just like something just aching at me and saying something's off.
So you'd still like, I guess, identify as agnostic, right? Not like still.
Yeah,
Is
or
that-
like secular Buddhism kind
Yeah.
of thing. Because not even Buddhism, they kind of make them. There's these weird kind of things that like doesn't make sense to me. So secular kind of puts it into try not as much as a religion
Yeah.
as possible. So that's kind of where I'm at. That makes sense to me for now. But I still crave something, and I'm like,
So
what's
does
that
it make
about?
sense?
yeah, that's the thing. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. But I think that's probably part of it where that's what turns me off too. It's like people are like, oh, I'm a Christian, but they just kind of bagwagon off other people.
Yeah.
So it's just
Just like
like,
what Steve did.
Yeah. I'll literally jump right on Dave.
he's like, oh, this Jesus guy.
It's easier to ride the wagon than push it or pull it.
It's hard pulling that thing.
Yeah. But it seems like even if in your Bible or any religious thing, there's like a struggle to connect with God or understand God. And people are like, there's like a whole like life thing you're going through, like journey.
Mhm.
And other people just like, oh yeah, I'm friends with Jesus and he's rad and that's it. I'm like, it seems like there's more than just that. And now they could just be hiding stuff like, cause there's a lot of struggling and belief and questions that pop in and they make it
Yeah.
sound so easy.
It's funny, like, because of the name, like, Israel.
Grappling with God.
Yeah, and it's, kind of,
Or one of their names.
the people, and the
Yeah.
name, implies, or means, struggling with God. And you have a lot of people around who are exactly like that, are just like, oh, I believe in God. It's like, really? Have you thought about it? Do you
Yeah.
know
Like,
why?
have you ever
Yeah.
questioned it or really dove into it? No, probably not. And that's what this turns me off. Now, that's just the people. That
Yeah.
shouldn't
Oh,
reflect
yeah.
on the religion, but it does for me for some reason.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I guess if you have like representation, I mean, there's always going to be that. I mean, you got the model of something. That's what you're going to see. And that's
Yeah.
what you're going to base everything off of.
yeah.
And I mean, obviously, I think a lot of times I think that has to do with like people just not taking it as serious. I think sometimes, like, I mean, because like we are in the Bible Belt, I mean, I remember going to church and then like we had these things called revivals. So it was like, oh, I didn't know we
He's
had
got
to get
air
revived.
quotes. He's doing
like,
air quotes right now.
yeah, air quotes, and I didn't know that we had to get revived right then and there. Like I thought that was like a God thing that he revives us when we need it, not when someone guy said, oh, we're going to do it this week.
Let's just get everybody to come because everybody's got food.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and that's the funny thing too, is like other churches, people would come. It's like, I don't really understand this. So I think there's a whole lot of just confusion with that. I think people don't like. That's why I respect why you think you do, because you don't just take something at face value.
Yeah.
It's like seeing something and you're like, oh, there's actually something behind that, and there's a reason behind that. But most people just say, oh, I believe because I don't want to go to hell, or I believe because I just
cover their eyes.
I don't like the exactly. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, because that's a human thing. That's like self-preservation thing,
Mm-hmm.
but like. I mean, I think that there's just such like a knowledge imbalance, and that people don't really truly understand like God. And I mean, truthfully, even the Bible, like people don't understand the Bible. They just pick and choose little time like pieces of the Bible and like, oh, that's applicable to my life. And then they take one piece and like, I don't understand that, so disregard,
I feel it's like a comfort thing. You have a...
Oh, that too, yeah.
I feel like the religion
people.
in general is like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like... you get your community together and you're just kind of there and you all believe the same thing and go day in, day out. Then you have your food days, and it's just kind of more of a
social event.
Like a social feel good.
Well, see,
thing.
that could be part of it, where you think, oh, it's just a social thing, but maybe that's what we need. Because what threw me off was like, in human history, or supposedly what we see in the past, it's like always these other societies have these different religious things that they have to believe. So it's not like we just made this up like a couple hundred years ago. This has been going on for like ever. And it's just like, is there something to that? Is it human nature, instinct built into us that we have to worship or have this kind of religious thing?
Well, I mean, even the faith I believe in, like, I mean, I do believe that there's a body of believers. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
community is like a huge thing, because if I sit here and I just think what I think about God, and then I don't have any input from you two guys about what you all think, it's like I'm just gonna think what I think for the rest of my life. And if I die and meet God and I'm like, oh, that's not what I thought at all, but then you had a better idea of what God was, or you had something that I didn't think about. It's all about like bouncing ideas off of you. Like, it's almost like a group think kind of thing, or deal. And like, I just think that a lot of people, like, it's not good to obviously be like solo. You can't just, and plus that's another thing too. What I believe in is discipleship. So it's like I'm bringing other people into the same belief I believe in. So obviously there's going to be a community coming out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
Yeah. My little splurge.
No, I mean, makes sense for me. Like I went to your church for a little bit. We went to the same church there for a while. But I feel like I kind of was on the opposite spectrum. Like I'm too much. I wanted to be too solo and only come to like church to learn, but not to like communicate and gather with others.
Yeah.
You're pretty much the only. Well, there might have been one more other guy, but whereas like just mainly you're the only friend that I really had that I was close to in that little group of people, and it was kind of weird because everybody always did want you to like go to the outings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And maybe I should have. But I mean, it's just one of those spectrums. Just it's just kind of weird. I'm just saying that a lot of people go for the community, and I kind of went on the opposite end.
Yeah, you did.
You just wanted the knowledge,
the Jesus
out of it.
part.
The knowledge, yeah, and it's like, well, I'm not even gonna say the Jesus part, just the knowledge part.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, but
I think it's just different. Like, people enjoy more of like the fun community things. Let's say they do like some kind of tournament or a game or a picnic thing, and you're more on the book nitty gritty stuff.
yeah, but there's probably a happy medium there. There's that
There's
guy
a balance
that
in everything.
probably needs
Yeah.
Well,
that community, or who's feeling down that week that might actually need is a little bit of uplifting.
Yeah. I mean, because that's another thing in the community is like you've got people, even the Bible says, like when someone mourns, you're supposed to mourn. When, you're happy, they're supposed to be happy. So it's like, it is kind of an upbringing thing, but also it's like outward focused, right? So, I mean, yeah, it's good to have events and stuff, but it's like you can't have events like every Wednesday or every Sunday, because who are you going to reach? You're just going to talk to each other, and that's like all you're going to, so like I think that's kind of where like there needs to be like some kind of paradigm shift because it is so it's exclusive, and it's just like them, and then like they might add like a few people here, a few people there, and it's just like, but like to what degree though, and what.
It's always going to be almost that little group, and it's not like going to be constant
exactly.
like outreach or.
And how deep are they actually really truly going?
Yeah.
With that.
Do you think everyone needs to go that deep?
I think there needs to be a few things that people have to. I think they gotta have like experiences with God, not just one time or two times in their lifetime. Something to actually prove to themselves and like to help increase their faith, but to also tell other people about. And that's the thing with experiences, you can't take that away from somebody. You know, I could say that I, saw this snake and it was wrapped around this bush, and then that bush like was, then the big flood came, whatever. I could say whatever, but then you can't really say that because you haven't experienced it like I experienced it. So, obviously there have been witnesses or whatever. Anyways, besides the fact.
Well, this is if you have your experience, but you can interpret the way differently though. Like if someone's like, I had this experience and God was showing me, and then if you tell someone else, you're like, maybe that wasn't God or whatever the case may be. It's just how you interpret your experience. And that's where it gets a little hinky because everyone wants to God this, God that. I don't know if God's that involved. Let's just say if I did believe in your God, and they always say, oh, messed the mic a little bit up. They always want to blame it. Well, not blame it, but I guess put it on God. Like, oh, God wanted me to do this. It's like, maybe you want to do it and you're just kind of putting it as God as a crutch or something.
Yeah, see, I always kind of struggled with that too. Like when they say, oh, I guess, I don't know if it's a around the world thing, but in the Southeast United States, it's like, oh, the Holy Spirit led me to do this or do that. And it's like, I'm kind of with Eric, like, did it? Or was that just you justifying something or a happy coincidence that you're just saying, hey, God wants me to do this and it's kind of what I want to do anyway, so I'm going to shoot for it. It's like, it's really hard to define those lines.
And that's what irritates me too, is like, they're like, I know God told me to do this. Like, they're so certain.
How do you know?
It's like, how do you know for sure?
Without a doubt. I've had some crazy experiences happen.
Yeah.
And
you got to, and even if you have crazy experience, at least it seems like you have different sides of it. You're like, I think it was this, but it could be all in my head or whatever. You always go.
I like
two
probabilities.
Sides. Yeah. You at least have both sides of the thing, so you're not so one-sided, and you're like, okay, it could have been something else or something like that, and it's just like,
I mean, is there like a checklist of like, okay, this didn't happen, trash. Okay, this happened. This was God, or as they say, the Holy Spirit.
So I think that goes back to kind of what Eric was saying. I think that there's a huge like lack of like knowledge behind things. I think people pick and choose things, and they think, okay, well, God just like, because there's this whole big concept of like, okay, if you find God, you're just gonna be prosperous, you're gonna be this, you're gonna be that, whatever. Not necessarily. God never really said you're gonna be wealthy, rich, or anything material wise. So, like I said, people pick and choose. So what they'll do is they'll pick and choose things in their life too, like, oh, should I take a job that pays $20,000 or $50,000? Well, I think God really wants me to do $50,000 because I could do a lot more at $50,000.
Yeah.
But then really, I'm going to spend $30,000 on myself. Yeah, and okay, whatever. But there's nothing really on me unless I really know that person. There's really nothing I can really say to that because yet again, I'm not in their life. I don't really know. But if I am with like someone in my church and we talk about it, we think about it, we pray about it, and like, because here's the thing, God is not going to tell Eric to go do something and then me go do something else, and he wants us to like work together. There's going to be like unity there. There's going to be like some kind of.
What do you mean?
There's going to be some sort of like peace between that. You know what I mean?
You saying like God wouldn't do contradict or do two different things for someone?
Like he's not going to tell Eric to go build a bridge and then tell you to blow it up.
Yeah, that would be really confusing, and I don't know.
Yeah, why would God like, hey, build this bridge? So, and then God's telling us, hey, blow that up when he builds it.
I'm just trying to, like you said, he's not going to tell somebody at your church do something and tell you something.
But
different.
what I'm trying to get at is like there's gonna be some kind of like presence that like say like a church is coming like together.
Yeah.
Excuse me. That's come together to like vote in a pastor.
Yeah.
Or whatever. If that whole church comes together and there's one person that says, "No, I don't think that's right," and one person, "Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do," then who's right in that situation?
Can't
But
both be right.
Yeah. How's that work?
Yeah, but if there's a group of people that say, "Yes, this is right," or "No, this is not right," then that's where I'm saying I think that's where the God thing is. Now, give and take, people are people. They can lie, they can manipulate. That's what we're good at. We'll take something, we'll just twist the hell out of it, and we'll manipulate it to what we want it to be. So, the human aspect, you've got that, yes, but that's where it pays to know people. It pays to know, and that's what I'm saying. You have to have God experience, because if you can experience God, you're going to know how God acts. You know the character of God. You understand how He kind of operates. And same thing with the Holy Spirit. It's all, Trinity wise, but you know how things kind of operate. So if you don't know that and you're very selfish or you pick and choose things and to benefit you, then you're obviously not going to really necessarily like get that point. So, if, for instance, don't you say you work with someone that's
We won't say his name.
yeah, pastor or something anyways, or was, if he comes up and you don't know him from Adam, then, I mean, it's hard for you to like sit there and judge and say, oh, that's not right.
Yeah.
I mean, because unless there's something very erratic, what I mean? But I think that's kind of just a point where it's like, you just gotta say, okay, yeah, good for you. Hope it works,
God bless.
Yeah, God bless. I'm out.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, that's the weird part with me is like people are like so certain. I don't like the certainty because no one can be that certain. You could be 99%. There's always that 1%.
99%.
But you're like 1% certain.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. But when I see people, most people don't even know who they are themselves.
That's true.
Let alone they know this almighty being that's not talking,
connected to the
connected,
whole world,
yeah.
universe.
But let me ask you this: do you not find meaning in the God that created you? Would not give you meaning, by knowing God, the person that created you, would give you like meaning by finding Him and like knowing Him. Because some people don't know their own meaning, right?
You're blown. I don't even understand the question almost.
So say I don't believe anything.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling with like, what am I here for? Why do I exist? What's my meaning?
That's exactly what I'm doing. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm with you so far because
Okay.
that's exactly how I
So
feel.
if I go on a search for, let's say, a God or the God,
Yeah.
my creator, by getting to know Him more, getting to know whoever created me. Just say, no, we don't want to say God, just a creator of some sort, some higher power. By trying to understand that and knowing that more, that would fulfill me more, and like fulfill me as in I know my meaning and I know my purpose.
I could see where you could feel like find the meaning, but
Yeah.
I would say you wouldn't be able to describe it, or it's like hard to describe. Like if you have an experience to tell how you felt or something like that to someone like that, where you know what I'm saying?
Kind of elaborate, please. Elaborate a little bit on that.
Oh, I thought you said library. I'm like, what?
Library.
So it's like you have this connection. It's like describing like to a blind person what colors are or white is or something.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you even comprehend or tell a person that never
Experience DMT.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like that. If you're connected with this creator somehow and you feel it, it would be hard to be like, oh, I know God, He's with me, or it's what I'm saying. It's I don't know. It seems like the God thing's like a foreign thing compared to like modern society, where it shouldn't click as much as people say it does, or how they put this not act, but how they present themselves, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's just like I feel weary when they do that. Now I guess you could feel more at peace and all that stuff and connected, but the way they tell you, it's like, I don't know. It just seems like a very shallow kind of expression, or you can almost kind of tell when they're bullcrapping you or something like that, or at least I think so. Sometimes we're like, okay.
So let me ask you this: so the way I like, because you even said earlier that I'm more like I practice or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that I am a bad representation or a bad believer, or what would you
for your religion?
Yeah, like what I mean, because
I would say now you're my friend and everything. Could I be a little more biased? But I would say you're more. If there were more like you or more like how you look at things, I would say we'd probably be a better representation.
Yeah, that's kind of like a weird question to ask because like he knows you personally, so he knows like
your
almost all your intentions. Yeah. So
okay, but that's the thing though. So what if I am a true like? What if what I believe is very true, and you happen to know me, and you're the lucky one to know me, Dirty Dave, you know him face to face since like 8th grade. So knowing that, but like that's what I'm saying. Like, what if, say, like you started getting to know me, and then like all my friends were just like me, just replicas, and I mean, we're just a human. We're still gonna screw up, you know.
Yeah,
but we're not that shallow. We're very humble people. We come, and we're just just like me.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you think about that?
That would be more compelling, I would say, as far as your religion would go, as what I understand what that religion's supposed to represent.
Yeah.
And what, I'll be a little more like, okay, everyone seems to be uniform at that, and they were like that. What I'm saying is like you got all these different religions or Christians. There's so many different. What would you call it?
Sex, like SECTS.
Ah, there you go.
Sex.
Yeah.
Sex, not sex, but sect.
There's different. Everyone seems a little more like so divided. They're not all uniform. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if it's the one God, why is there so many different branches or whatever? Now, granted, they could be the same thing. They just focus on different aspects a little bit more.
Yeah.
But this seems so divided, or they always talk crap about the other ones. Like Christians about Catholics, Catholics about Christian. Yeah. It's all those things. It's like, you think God, like let's say Jesus, right? You think Jesus would be doing that? No. But even when Jesus, they were kind of doing it then. So it just seems like human nature.
Jesus would be a conservative Republican if he was alive, obviously.
Yeah.
No. Oh, well, that's the thing though. That's why I was saying earlier that like,
I don't see
as humans, we'll take something so innocent and we'll fuck it, abuse it, like twist it, just turn it into something that's completely not for anything. It could be literally anything, and that's the same thing we've done with religion. And not to knock anybody, but I mean, like, there's just so much like tradition and ritual, and it's like people don't even know why people do things. Let's just say like Hail Marys. Nothing against Catholics, but just Hail Marys. Obviously I don't know that much about Catholics, but it's just like if I asked like a friend of ours that I know is a Catholic, and he has no idea what that means, but he still does them. But he has no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, baptisms. If you're a Southern Baptist, because that's the majority of where we are right now, around us at least, and people say, "Why do you get baptized?" Because it's what I do after I get saved. Why?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People just don't understand that. And it's like a full circle of things. Like they don't know enough, and they twist things. And to be honest, like we don't even know like if you have to be baptized, or at least me, I don't even know if you have to. There's nothing that necessarily says you have to. But in some, like Baptists, they say it's required to be one.
Or they maybe focus way too much on it, where you're like, you got to get baptized. And
exactly.
And you're more open to the things because, like, with all the research you do and all that stuff, that's why, like, you're so open and there's so much out there. You're like, I'm not going to be like, you got to do it this way, because it's not like everyone's going to know, or you're going to know every single thing on this ancient thing.
And that's the thing, too. I was like, lack of knowledge. And I think a lot of times traditional churches, they have to have an answer.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the pastor, you go to the deacon, you go to anybody in the church.
Answer for everything.
They have to have
so it looks
answer.
like you got the authority that you know what's going on. If you say, I don't know, then they'll be like, oh.
Well, pray more or read the Bible. It's like, well, the Bible doesn't even make sense half the time.
Yeah.
It really doesn't.
You would never hear that from what I would say. Like, you would think that'd be blasphemy, saying like, What?
Yeah. There's actually a church that I live near, and it says like on the sign, you know,
The marquee.
yeah, it says the Bible is my compass. I'm like, so where the fuck do you go? Like, you know,
When you're upside down, you know?
you know, it's like, well, then I'll read this, and then I'll go this way, and I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
But that's what, like, I think it's really important because going back to what I think of the community thing, you know, I can think something's like dead set, boom. But if I go to Steve and say, oh, I believe this, and he's like, well, actually, this is what I believe, and then it would be something unlocked in my head, like, oh my gosh, I've never thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have an open mind, and you have to, like, just be humble about it, because you could be wrong,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Heck, I could be wrong and die and it not be true. Do I believe that? No. I believe full-heartedly that I do have a God, and there's a Trinity, and all these different other things, but, like, there's still a possibility I could be wrong. Whether it's knowledge based on Bible, if it's just day to day, if it's something spiritual, you just don't know. You can't be 100%. That's why you can't be 100% everything.
Yeah, there's even a story in the Bible about that where the dude sticks his finger through the hole in his hand.
He sticks his what?
His finger through the hole in his hand.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Hole in the hand.
Yeah. No, I was
Hole
like,
in the hand.
I was hearing something else, and I'm like, I need to read this part.
We're going to take a little short, nasty bunch break. So we'll be right back. Thank you all.
Stay raw.
All right, we're back from that nasty bunch break. So let's continue with our conversation here.
Yeah, too bad I forgot where I was.
It was like so deep in conversation. So I think we're kind of getting at was the whole thing of, you know, we've taken something like
Hole through the hand.
Yeah, hole through the hand.
How can you forget about that?
Yeah, you know, it's you know, I guess the point I was trying to make is like, you know, one of the disciples was there and seen Jesus firsthand, and he still didn't believe 100%. So I don't think the Bible necessarily.
Good for him.
Well, I don't think.
Don't question authority.
I don't want to say it's like not there for, like, or it's there for you. Like, it says it's okay not to believe, but it's like there's definitely something there that says you're not going to believe 100%, you know, all the time.
Oh yeah.
Even most of the time, I would say, because, you know, that's a dude who lived in, as they say, broke bread,
Mm-hmm.
and he still didn't believe it when he seen it there in front of him. And I feel like that's how we are as a society today, is that even if these things, like the conversation you and I had, Eric, about what would it really take for you to believe in a God, and you know, you're like, oh, you know, if I seen a burning bush and it spoke to me, and then I kind of turned it and I was like, you think you'd believe that?
And then I think the next day I'm like, you're right. I was like, I think I would believe in it for like a week
month
or so,
two. Yeah.
And then I'd be like, nah, I would make an excuse or whatever it would be, and be like, that was something else. I was high or whatever it was.
Brain
Mass
malfunction.
But at least I was on. Like, I was like, man, would I? And I'm like, probably not. No, I would just deny it.
Yeah.
So that's the human nature, is denying it. Well, just in the Bible and all that stuff, it seems like you have to have that.
Like, I think God works on a set of principles,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, not many, but certain things in the Bible kind of go against the principles that he set, and I think people have a hard time getting over that hurdle.
What do you mean by that?
By
Going against, like what?
like I believe God works on, you know, scientific principles, like, you know, physics,
Mm-hmm.
and then, you know, biology, and when things happen that they would call miracles that go against those things, people have a hard time understanding them, and they just dismiss it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, you're saying that just because, let's say, God created a miracle, still doesn't mean you can't explain it with science or whatever like that.
Well, I'm not saying that's something I believe,
Mm-hmm.
but what I'm trying to say is that it's hard for modern day people to not believe in those principles, even
The miracles.
the miracles, when God goes against the principles that he sets to create said miracles. Does that make sense?
No.
I mean,
Well,
does it make sense to you? Am I saying it wrong?
No, I mean, I see what you're saying. Like he's like breaking his own. He's breaking his own
Rules.
I wouldn't say breaking, but he's going against the rules
He's
that he
bending
set.
his own. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
bending his
exactly.
own rules
Yeah.
to form
Okay.
things.
And he may not even be. It's just that we don't understand how
Yeah,
it
I
came
got what you're
about.
saying. Yeah.
So when those rules are bent or broke, it kind of makes people say, well, that can't happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, are you that sure? Are you that positive it can't happen? Like,
Yeah.
Neuralink, man. Throw that out there. Curing Alzheimer's, making paralyzed people walk.
I don't know. I mean, when I think of like principles, I think of like characteristics of like what I would have as a person, like the principles I have as a person. I think that's how he operates. I don't know about the scientific part, and I mean, obviously the miracles and stuff are obviously part of the Bible, like when Jesus did all that stuff, and even God in the Old Testament when He did certain things. But like, I don't know if that's just something that like just happened, and it's just like. It's almost like when I think about creation, it's like I don't know if he just like created it and just let everything spin and he just watches it, or like if he actually has his hand in every single thing. Like, you know, if he had the burning bush, like if he actually was it really burning, or is it something like a vision of someone, you know, I don't know. Like I don't know how that works. But like when I think of principles,
that doesn't matter though, right? Like
it
the
doesn't
burning
matter.
bush, because like that's just part of the story. It's the more principle
yeah,
and all that stuff. But people focus right on the burning bush or all these
Yeah.
crazy things.
yeah, and
missing the whole
to
point.
me, because I mean, I think it's like Numbers 34, something like that. It's the first time that they actually talk about the characteristics of God, like how He's merciful, but yet He's also just, and He's loving, and He's also gracious, but He's also vengeful. So it's like that's like the first time like they actually talk about how God is, and then they repeat that I think like 27 times in the New or I can't remember if it's all the Bible or just the Old Testament or New Testament. Anyways, so when I think of that, I think of that kind of like principle. I think of like the how He operates, like, you know, that way. I don't think of like scientific.
But why not?
Huh?
Why not?
Because that doesn't matter to me. To me personally, I don't think. Because I mean, if you're talking about God of the universe that literally created something out of nothing, then obviously He can turn water into wine.
He can, but don't you find it fascinating that there are rules you have to follow for the universe to work?
What I mean, rules
For
to
us
follow?
or him?
I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for him, but definitely us.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, isn't that fascinating that, you know, as the creator of anything, you know, why don't you have super abilities to fly through the air? Like, why is there set principles for these things to happen? Have you ever thought about, like, why that is, you know? Like,
Yeah, it's kind of weird where you feel like there are rules set. Like,
I mean, there's obviously rules set.
mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, how fast we can break them or / bend them is all relative to like how fast we can develop technologies.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's just that's something that's, you know, I guess, you know, a lot of people look at it like, oh, you're asking all these questions, you know, and I get heat for like not believing because I ask so much questions.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just interested in finding out why things operate the way they operate, you know?
Yeah.
Well, it seems like when people say why you like, I would say most people like if you ask questions, that's good and everything. But then there's like a probably, I don't know, back of their mind or other people. If you ask questions, that means like you're not close to God because you're always asking. That's
Such
how
a
I feel
false
like.
statement, you know.
Huh?
It's just such. I mean, like it's like
That's what people do
Yeah,
though. Like you
it's
see,
so
like
crazy.
if it's like when people like make a mistake, it's like if you were with God, closer to God, you wouldn't make that mistake, kind of
Exactly,
thing.
yeah.
It's like you almost got that. I don't know, like bad.
stigma.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
It's like you wouldn't be making all these mistakes, or you wouldn't be asking all these questions if you're already, shacked up with God already.
Yeah, that is weird.
And that's what people think highly of themselves. And
That's
they'd
the
be
same, like, that's the same situation the witches were in, you know, like, oh, if you survive, you're a witch, when they tied them up, threw them in the lakes, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, if you float, you weren't a witch, but sorry.
like, yeah.
It's kind of the same thing, you know,
I
you're
don't
just
know
kind
if
of like
that's
outcast.
actually true, if that's how they did it or not.
I didn't say it was, I just
Yeah.
said it was the same thing.
But they probably did, just based on how people do things sometimes.
Yeah, it's just, you know, like, oh, you just want to make somebody an outcast.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's
Yeah.
like almost like your group think wants to attack whatever might disturb the group think for some reason.
The
Yeah.
weird thing is, like what you said, that just brought up, I thought a couple weeks ago or a week ago, was like, you notice like all the people that want peace, they always got murdered brutally. Like Jesus,
Yeah.
MLK,
Gandhi.
Gandhi, There's probably a few other ones. They always wanted peace, but they always died, and people just can't stand for some reason.
Maybe it's, I don't know. It's like the reality of that if you did have peace, you're taking away somebody's power. Because if you have ultimate peace, there's no need for power.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing about Jesus, because like everybody thought that Jesus was some kind of like military figure coming in, going to take over Rome and all this other stuff. But it's really opposite. I mean, he was very humble, a lot of, peaceful, and there's just such a paradigm shift for a lot of people. Like they think that they have to have power and this, that, and the other, but really everything has to come from out of humility. And yeah, I mean, I think that's spot on what you said. Like, I think that's when someone said, "Oh yeah, you're not important anymore, and you've got all the power." Not really.
Yeah.
Then people are like, "Oh no, that's not good for us. So let's nix that."
That's crazy. Scary.
Yeah.
But like it's like MLK. Like, did he have? Like, I guess there was with that because he was, trying to get the segregation out and come together.
A lot of racism though.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to think like Gandhi and Jesus and all that stuff. Like.
No, you're right. He wanted, peaceful protest and
Yeah. But I guess you were taking someone's power away because like, let's say, MLK, you're going to integrate black people with white people and all these other races together. No, we don't want that. I want to keep it segregated. So that's why they killed them. But it's always weird. It's the peaceful ones though. Like the most peaceful and all that stuff that seems to have the most power. I guess, I don't know. This seems kind of weird. Unless you just focus more on that, where it's like they're all about peace and then they get murdered. Hardcore.
I mean, there's a lot of things like martyrs just happen.
Yeah.
You
got like dictators getting murdered too and hung in public too. So maybe just focus on the good people more. I don't know.
Yeah, that's funny.
Just regardless.
It's not funny, but
Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah, man. I feel like we got a pretty good little chat here going.
Yeah.
So just to recap, you're agnostic. You're a Christian. And I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we're all friends.
The funny thing is, we're
Except
so
for you.
cool.
I'm not friends with you. I can't be friends with you.
What? Come on.
Just kidding. We're all what? What'd you say?
No, we're not friends, so go fuck yourself. But we're open-minded. We're not like, I just like how people like, oh, you don't believe in this? And they get so angry. It's just like, why?
But I mean, I get it from both people. I get it from like the atheist people I know, and I get it from like the most Christian people that I get. Like they're both equal. The attacks are equally as vicious from both.
Yeah. Would you say it'd be worse because of the Christians because they at least have some kind of morals thing going on, or the atheists kind of just do whatever they want?
No, it's the same.
Dang it.
Like, why does the atheist care? If he's
That's
an atheist,
true too.
why does it matter?
Because they think they're right.
You're all gonna die
wrong,
anyway. Everybody's gonna die.
Yeah.
They want to show you that they're right. There's the power. There's always their power somewhere involved in that.
Yeah,
it's
but
just
I mean, like, if we're never gonna find that out, like that
Yeah,
person,
there's
no
no
one's
way
came
to.
back from the death,
Yeah.
I don't care what book or movie you show me.
Well, the atheists usually have the religion and science and scientists and all that stuff. So
yeah, but I mean, like I said, something amazing now may not be amazing 30, 40 years from now. You know how much more we're gonna know in 30 or 40 years?
if we're not all, kill each other.
The COVID don't get us.
Yeah, the Rona.
But
I mean, I guess it all comes down to like free will. I mean, it's exactly what people. I mean, people are gonna do what they're gonna do. There's no forcing other people to think or believe certain ways.
I still don't understand that part about the free will. Is there anything in the Bible that says like, God says there's free will, I can't touch you? Now, granted, you got the story of Adam and Eve, and they gave them a choice, and that kind of indirectly says free will, but it doesn't really say like, I gave you free will and I can't touch it. Like I can't robotically.
I mean, free will probably was not even a concept back 4,000 years or 6,000 years ago, whatever it was.
Probably not.
But it
You know,
just
it's
seems
not-
weird.
It's kind of like atheism back then was probably not even a concept that was
No,
understandable.
no, because
There's probably some concepts that they just got murdered before it could.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think somebody back then was just been like, oh, the Big Bang caused all this, and I'm just here.
Well, maybe not the Big Bang, but they're like, oh, maybe this religion's not the answer to all the, the world, or.
But they'd
created the
probably
world.
say, oh, this God over here is.
Yeah, they
just
just
not this
kind
God.
of segue.
Well, yeah, I mean, even
lateral.
a lot of people were polytheistic.
Yeah.
Sun god, rain god.
Yeah, that's
plant
true.
god.
You know what's weird is like, during evolution, when the chimps thought they needed to like have a god. You know what I mean? Like if that's your line of belief,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like stone tape theory. Say they get stoned and like they see something and they think that's God, and
Yeah.
that causes the whole religion thing. But if that's true, then you would think that would just be like that one group of chimps or something, Like why would it be like the whole race or the whole species,
Well, explain the stone ape thing to people, because I don't think anyone.
Have you heard of
knows
that?
I've not heard that. No.
Yeah. See.
Well, you know better
Yeah,
than I.
I think you showed me, or did I show
What?
you? I think I showed you.
I believe you did.
Oh man, it's been a while though.
Just hit the points.
So pretty much the theory is that a monkey, because of evolution or whatever, don't touch my foot, Dave. That if evolution's real or they progress or whatever, that if a chimp picked up a mushroom or something that altered their state of mind, that they seen all these weird colors or something they couldn't explain.
Now, why does it have to be a chimp? Just curious.
That's what they said. That's what they said.
Okay.
Because you always hear people say, "Oh, we're from chimps or whatever, or
Yeah.
chimpanzees or
Yeah.
monkeys," and they're trying to figure out like where's that transition or whatever. So I guess they use the chimp thing, but they pretty much says that if they took a mushroom or something that altered their mind, and they seen something and they just started worshiping it, and then they started getting everyone else, all their chimp buddies or monkeys, to take it too, and they see all these colors and they kind of evolve because they expanded their mind because they're seeing all these other stuff, and that's how they said they that we grew or split off or something. I'm probably butchering that so bad,
You got the points.
but
Stone
yeah.
chimp sees mythical figures.
And they
Religion
show-
is birth.
And they show all their other chimp buddies, and then they start
Yeah.
going forward supposedly. Yeah.
Eat.
So this is like with the, I guess, belief of evolution, right?
No, this was just
Okay.
They're just trying to make something that sounds like what started religion, or why is it so
it was just a
integrated.
theory. Like, hey, what if this happened? You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
It kind of makes sense to me. a
I mean,
little bit.
it's pretty good. I mean, like,
I can see where it's coming from.
I definitely
gonna-
believe there's a veil
That's
yeah.
unleashed or needs to be.
that's just blocked. I think it's part of the rules.
What
Well,
rule does that fall under?
Huh?
What rule does that fall under?
Well, I don't
Steve's
believe
rule.
it's an unwritten rule. But I do believe that there is, like, now we're getting off to, like, this could be a whole nother podcast.
well,
in itself.
this would be the segue into like, oh, for episode 2.
See, I believe that there could be, like, different dimensions and realms that our mind is blocked from seeing. And I believe that the angelic creatures of our belief are able to go in and out of those dimensions. I believe paranormal stuff, ghosts and spirits, are also part of those different dimensions and realms. I believe heaven and hell is a different dimension and realm. And there's just maybe taking those certain substances kind of breaks that veil, and then certain experiences also break those veils.
Okay, so I've got two things on that.
Yeah. Serious.
Okay, so obviously going back to Adam and Eve
Yeah.
in the garden, right? So
Supposedly.
Yeah, was it an apple or a pomegranate? No, just kidding. Just kidding.
I mean,
Papaya, man, get it right.
pomegranate's delicious, and 613 seeds. That's how much Jewish law there was too. Just coincidence.
Have
Anyways,
you ever counted pomegranate seeds? Someone just made that up, probably.
that's like a rough estimate. but that's like the average, I guess. I don't know.
So
It's not set in stone. Anyways,
question one:
Talk to
what,
your Christian buddies about that.
Adam and Eve. So like at one point, some form of God, I mean, whether it be God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, was interchangeable. I mean, they walked with man, creation, you know, and there was nothing there to like separate that. So
what do you mean though? Like, do you believe there was a God that actually walked with hands and feet?
yes.
Okay, all
It's
right.
called Jesus.
Well, I'm talking about in the garden.
Who says it's not Jesus?
I mean, it could be. I'm just asking you, like, what do you believe? I don't know. Like,
Do you
I
think
didn't know
it's
if
a
you meant like
metaphor?
metaphorically walking.
Yeah,
or, like,
yeah.
You know, did people?
Well, I mean, me personally, I'm starting to I'm trying to unravel this myself.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think it was Jesus to begin with, because I think there has to be God the Father. I think a lot of times people miss out on God the Father because there's not very much known about God the Father. I don't know if I'm going off in the weeds on this or not, but there's not a lot known about him. And it even says in the Old Testament that you can't even handle that version of God.
But you think they walked with him though?
But that's the thing. I'm saying I think Jesus
I
was
gotcha.
there as a mediator, because I mean, even in the New Testament, he says no one knows the Father except for the Son, and you know, so pretty much saying he's the link between humanity and God. So who's to say that God was like, after all that, was like, okay, Jesus, I need you to go down to earth and do this because humanity can't mend itself. I need some kind of connection here, and I need it to be mended by you. So that's just my personal thought on that. Where I was going with that? Oh, yeah. So there's obviously, you know, some way though that these beings can go in and out of things.
Obviously, yeah.
So I mean, right there, that might be another realm, because everyone's like, oh, where was Garden of Eden or Garden of Eden and all this stuff? It's like we don't even know if that was like a physical place, because you know, heaven and earth
We're separated after that. You know, pretty much.
Yeah, you know, exactly. So there was a separation. There was a veil, as you might say.
I do say.
Put up there, and there was a separation. So, and then we're always on this journey now to find, you know, God and that separation. What was your second point? I can't. What was the? You're talking about the veil, the realms, and then what else was there?
You had two questions.
Well, yeah, I had two things on that.
But you said something that triggered his two questions.
I was
Yeah.
talking about like how they could go into like, and oh yeah, like heaven and hell are different.
Okay.
Could be different dimensions or different, you know, realities, and you know,
Yeah, I can't remember.
they travel in and out of those dimensions, and
Yeah.
the drugs and might help
Oh,
release.
okay. So I had a question about that.
Yeah.
So if you like say
God created
take a-
mushrooms.
you take a mushroom or whatever,
Right on.
and you have that experience, is it just the mushroom or is it actually the veil being lifted? Because I mean,
Maybe
if-
both. God created that mushroom,
True,
and maybe he wanted us to take that mushroom.
but
Choice.
I would need
Huh?
I would need some kind of like way to know that. Like
I don't understand. Know what?
To take that mushroom?
yeah, like if I mean,
Or do
Are you saying like,
cacti?
how do you know the experience was real?
exactly. How do you know
What is
that's a
real?
valid thing?
Exactly. I was getting ready to say, like, just think about it as your experience that you said, oh, you have an experience with God. You know that. Nobody else will know that.
But then you're not sober minded at that point. You're
What do you mean by
influenced.
sober minded?
You're taking something and it's
Altering
doing
your
something. There's
mind.
chemical imbalance in your brain that's going off right.
But when people speak in tongues and stuff, that is also a chemical imbalance.
Is it?
Yep. You can cause that same reaction. Like, I forget the dude's name. It was like Daughtry or something. I think I showed it to you before, but
The rock star?
he kind of dressed. No, he's not the rock star, but he kind of dresses like one. But basically, like when people go and like, you know, they have these like experiences and they shake and stuff. Like you can cause that in like other ways than
Having substances.
a
to do
religious
that?
setting.
Oh.
So it's like you can get those reactions out of people by doing different things. And I learned that from him. He's a big time like atheist dude.
Like, what do you do though to get those?
I forget his name. It was really good. Like because he was a Southern guy too, and he's like, you know, I went, you know, and I was, you know, speaking in tongues and blah blah blah. Then he gave an example of like, I wish I could remember his name, but I don't remember his name. I don't remember. We'll have to talk about it next time. But anyways, there's like different things that people did that got different, the same like experience with it. And I forget what he said it was, but it was pretty cool. I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. You know, because
it just makes you wonder though, because it's like, okay, yeah, even if everyone takes item A and everybody has the same experience, it's like, okay, but first of all, it's the same thing that's happening from the same substance. Okay, cool. But then again, I'm just trying to get the validity out of like, and I'm not saying that like I said, I can still question it, but I also have to respect the way, like if you took something and you said you saw something, I'd have to respect that. Yeah, you did see it because I wasn't there. I didn't take it. But then also I have to think in my mind, like, is that really something that like it? I guess I'm just trying to understand the like the validity of it. Like I'm just really trying to understand. Like to me, it's like if you do crack cocaine, or obviously it's gonna be the same thing as like across the board. If someone takes crack cocaine, they're gonna have the same kind of high.
Sorry, like I'm trying to understand, like, what are you trying to put the validity on?
Like, is that a true vision or image that you're having?
So, okay.
Is it a true experience of God or
without
whatever?
the substance? So, is taking a substance a valid way to experience God?
Yes, but then also because my question with that is, if it is yes, then why is there nothing that's like really widely known about it?
There is.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be, but you think that there would be something with that.
But think about it. Like I'm not going to say all, a ton of ancient cultures all used psychedelic drugs to experience spiritual phenomenon.
True.
Like that is super wide. Like that is, all across the world. But yet, in this century, for some reason, it's shunned. Why?
Because they're trying to get rid of God.
Maybe they are. Maybe they are. Maybe like the old saying, like the best trick the devil ever pulled was, convincing people he didn't exist.
Well, see, there seems like they're accepting more drugs and not accepting the religion thing with it.
Which is,
So it's like weed, when they're trying to legalize weed.
Are they trying to legalize the drugs that are really
the devil's lettuce? That's why you think it's called the devil's lettuce?
The spiritual drugs? Or are they trying to legalize the drugs that ruin people's lives more?
That's weird because isn't mushrooms, DMT like class 3 or whatever? It's like,
yeah, it's like a
class
super
1.
felony.
It's like a super felony, and whereas weed is like not as bad.
Well, that's why they're trying to legalize it, I think.
Yeah, because it seems very absurd.
But
maybe
what's
because
weird
they
is
they knew how strong it was.
And I don't know if this is true, but I think I heard Dorian Yates say it. Like, you can keep taking DMT, and you can't just like get more high from it. It's like you take it, and then that's it. And you can keep taking it, and it just like kind of wears down.
It's almost like, it seems like with meth though, because that first experience, all your receptors overload, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of burn them out. So the next hit you take, 4 days from now, that hit's not going to be as strong because you just burned out most of your receptors or whatever you call them, your sensor things, and you can only produce so much dopamine or whatever they release. So that's why you can never go get that high again. So maybe that could be the reason.
Reason for what?
That when you keep on taking DMT or whatever, it's not as strong as the first time because maybe you're getting used to it.
Yeah, I don't remember why he said
burning
that
out
was. If that even was him. I don't want to put words in his mouth.
But see, with anything, like you said, with the substances and stuff like that, it's anything you do. Even when you have food, you get a response. It's maybe not as effective as alcohol or taking DMT and stuff. So where's that line of like what you're perceiving is real?
But why is there a line? Why is there? It's all reality. It's a real thing. You can touch it. You can eat it. You can you digest. Just because it happens and you can't prove like scientifically that this happened in your head, to me doesn't mean that it didn't happen. You know what I mean?
I guess what you're saying. Like, Moses could have had some DMT or mushrooms or something, and then saw a burning bush.
Yeah.
but it doesn't say he ate a mushroom. I'm just trying to understand, like,
They didn't get that detailed. Come on now.
I
A
mean,
minor detail.
they don't talk about free will, but
Yeah,
it's in
that's
there. You know, they talk about it,
Debatable.
talking about it.
Debatable.
Yeah. I mean, that's the concept, I guess.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to find. Like, I don't disagree with it necessarily. I mean, obviously, there's certain things that people do. Some of the greatest things that have happened are because of drugs.
yeah.
I mean,
all the
look
music.
at musicians,
art.
you look at books, authors, all these different things
Mhm.
have come out of that. Very artistic people, all these different things. But
And I'm not advocating for everybody to go out there and do DMT and trip for 5 days. I'm just saying,
am.
like,
Just
you
kidding.
know, there is like, it's part of religion for, hundreds of thousands of years, maybe.
yeah,
And it's like, why all of a sudden take it out? Like, it just seems like it could enhance,
enhance.
it could enhance
Enhance.
people's,
Enhance.
experiences with God, maybe.
He's probably saying, like, why do you need to take something to get closer to God?
Why not?
When it's
and
like,
I guess it comes down, kind of what you're saying. I think that it comes down to, I've had personal experiences with God without anything, so I don't
Yeah.
think I need to have that.
But I'm not saying you need to.
No, I know you're not saying that, but if you're also saying that I can experience things by taking it, it's like, but say Eric takes that and he has an experience, but he does not believe God. What does that say?
Maybe it tells him more about himself.
it seems like when people do that, they seem like there's an outside force. They don't understand what it is. They probably say Mother Nature or whatever, but they notice there's something more than just that.
It'd be
Not everyone.
very interesting if we could do a trial run on the three of us
The toad.
and to see
the
what would
toad.
happen.
Well, Graham Hancock said that his wife seen the same entity he did.
Who's that?
Graham Hancock?
It's some pothead British guy.
Hey, man, don't be bagging on Graham.
Yeah. No. Good. I'm just busting his chops a little bit, but yeah, explain that story a little bit.
Like, he was abusing pot. Like, he was just doing it every day. And I'm summarizing this, it's
Abusive.
go look it up.
Sounds like every stoner I've heard of.
Well, exactly.
Every
And then
day.
for some reason, that's the legal one. Why? It doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, him and his wife went to like South America and they did like ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca. Yeah,
Ayahuasca.
divine, dude.
Yeah, and then they took it at the same time, and he had a vision of this entity that's an actual entity that they have a name for, and I forget what it is.
Whose has it in for?
The
Like the
local
culture
people
down there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where,
And
Brazilians or I don't know where they
I'm not sure
went
where it
to.
was. But anyways, he seen like this entity that is known to be floating around out there when you take this ayahuasca stuff. And he took it and it told him, hey, you're kind of doing nothing. You're abusing this, devil's lettuce or whatever. And his wife had like she took it as well and had like a similar experience where she seen this entity and it told her that if he didn't change, then he would like go down this path or something like that. Basically, it came out to like they seen the same thing talking about the same problem, and it was two different people.
Okay, so I'm not trying to debunk you. I'm not trying to say anything. I'm just saying. So
Yeah, I mean,
you're already talking about a culture or a group of people that have taken it and seen this entity. So
Yeah.
you're saying that I take item A, and like say us three took it, and we all see the same purple rod, just like a purple rod.
Trippy.
Okay, we all saw it. So like obviously there's something that's saying, oh, there's a purple rod. Boom.
Hmm.
So that there's that. So I mean, obviously, yeah, they're gonna see that entity.
Yeah.
Second thing, they're married, and they've also.
Subconsciously.
I guess I'm kind of doing what you would be doing. You break something down to where it could be just coincidence.
Yeah.
But they're married. They might have talked about his problem with pot. They might have said,
Yeah.
maybe she's just like going through the fact of like, this thing told me that you need to change because that's what I think anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But
So, go ahead.
No,
it,
go ahead. Go
It
ahead.
could have been two different things. I'll go then. It could have been like the drug open up their subconscious a little bit and actually address the issue. And that could be on Dave's part where he's like, yeah, it's like something they were talking about or they were thinking deep down and that
And just
opened them
brought
up.
it to light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe a religion for like the drugs maybe and all that stuff is maybe just getting into our subconscious.
Well, this
That
is the
might be
thing,
real
like,
God. Mind blown.
like what if, use that purple rod that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Why the
If you see that purple rod talk to you when you're on, the substance, and I see the purple rod talk to me, and it solves a problem for both of us, why is that purple rod not as important anyway?
I never said it wasn't important.
Well, I mean, just like, or any more validated.
Well, that's
than what his God or their religion?
No, just like the experience itself. Like, okay, say, you take this thing and you take the substance, and we all see the purple rod, and the purple rod talks to us, and we give that purple rod a name. Why is that purple rod not real then, or validated?
I'm saying as in the fact of, okay, like, from my background, I believe in God. I've had experience with God, sober minded, like nothing has affected me. At least
That you think,
I might have had a
that you
meal
know of.
before and thought, oh man, God's great. I don't know, but like I've had the experiences without that, so it's like maybe that purple rod does solve your problem and my problem, but maybe it's just something that unlocked in our subconscious. Maybe
Because we're all connected.
yeah, and,
And there's
my
no
thing is like
one person.
I just know with my, like, I'm trying to think of, like, me personally. I mean, it's not going to make sense to anybody, but, like, I'm trying to think, my God, I've never felt the need to take something to, like, understand something more. Like, take a substance. Because I just.
You might not have a need for it, but it's like the internet. You don't really have a need for the internet, but you have it, and it is a tool that makes things a lot easier.
I mean, very true.
For some people, and then some people, it's a death trap.
Yeah.
Can't get off Pornhub.
Yeah, like I said, we'll take something good.
It's a
we'll
dark
twist it,
place.
fuck it, abuse it.
Abuse it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's just what I'm saying, like maybe.
Maybe what we can do is we'll think of some topics, kind of come up with some more information on this individually, and then come together as for our next episode. I think that'd be a good little intro to our next one.
Yeah,
like you were saying, Eric.
it's probably a good stopping
Talk
point
about
too.
those veils too, man. We're breaking through.
Yeah.
Into another dimension.
All right, Dave, close us out.
All right, boys and girls, you just heard episode 1, possibly the pilot